Hey everybody, so I just want to share with you a little Bible study that I had earlier from John chapter 2. John chapter 2 highlights the very first miracle that Jesus ever performed, turning water into wine. Okay, so starting at verse 1 through verse 4, basically giving you just a little backdrop, a rough draft of verses 1 and 2. So there was a wedding in Cana in Galilee, and there are lots of people at this wedding, I'm assuming, right? Big parties, small town, everybody's kind of invited. Jesus was invited, his disciples were invited, and Jesus' mother was invited. So starting at verse 3, it says this: when the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." Now, having no more wine at a wedding is like terrible in that culture, okay? It's almost as if you're saying in American culture, we've run out of food, right? Everybody's panicking. I mean, that's just the culture that they were in. Not having wine being equivalent to us in America not having enough food for our guests is like saying, I cannot afford to celebrate with you. And it was kind of like a situation that would have brought a lot of shame to this new bride and groom, okay? So she went to Jesus. The first thing I noticed was she went to Jesus because obviously she believed that he could do something about the situation. Even though this was the first miracle, there hadn't been, to our understanding, there hadn't been any other miracles performed before then. She knew that Christ could do something about the situation. So, and maybe even then you can go a little bit further and say maybe she thought enough that he cared. She thought enough that he cared about that couple being put to shame because they can't afford the wedding. But regardless of that, the first statement of her trusting that he could do something about it is valid enough in itself. Verse 4 then says, this is what Jesus says: "Woman, why do you involve me? My hour has not yet come." The fact that he says woman kind of suggests the relationship that he has with his mom. Okay, obviously she is his mother by birth, but the fact that he addresses her a woman kind of suggests that maybe his focus really was in that moment, even at the wedding. My responsibility here on earth is not to perform a whole bunch of miracles for y'all. My responsibility is to get to the cross to save the lost sheep of the house of Israel, which is kind of validated by, or verified, or whatever word you want to use there, by the next statement: my hour has not yet come. It is not yet my moment to be revealed as the Son of God. And then this is what she says. The mother turned to the servants and said, "Do whatever he tells you to do." And like I said, this is going to be a brief little study, but I thought this was absolutely perfect representation of how we are to respond in life's most critical situations. Mary did a few things. The very first thing that she did was she recognized that there was an issue, and she brought it to Jesus' attention. After she brought it to Jesus' attention, we can see that she was recognizing that he is in control. She knew that somehow he could fix the situation. And immediately after that, she turned to servants and she said, "Do whatever he tells you to do." Notice that she did not go to them first. She did not go to the servants and say, "Hey, we ran out of wine. Y'all figure out what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go to Jesus." No, the very first thing she did, she went to him. She didn't go to the hands and the feet first. She went to the head, okay? She recognized that Jesus was the head of her life and the answer to all things that concern her. Then her faith caused her to reach out to the people around who could be used by him. She reached out to the instruments, to the vessels, after she had already acted her faith in the hand of God. She had already activated the hand of God by prayer, and then she allowed her resources to help bring her faith into fruition. Does that make sense? She recognized God as being in control, and then she turned around and used her resources to play a role in activating her faith, or in producing what she had faith in. Hope you get that. If not, watch it again. Anywho, after she prayed or made her request to the Lord for God's intervention, she contacted the people who were involved, told them to get ready to listen, and God spoke and gave them instruction, turning water into wine immediately. We don't know where Mary went. Mary dropped the mic, walked off, and said, you handle it. Perfect example. When you give something to God, you tell him what you need. You bring the concern to him. You do what you can. If there are people involved, you pray. You ask your prayer partner to pray. You do this or do that, whatever. And then you let go. You walk off and you continue with life. This is exactly what Mary did. And I'm sure later on in the story, Mary had a glass of wine and realized, hey, Jesus did exactly what I knew he could do. Actually, if you read on in that chapter, in John chapter 2, it says that the guests were like, wow, y'all saved the best for last. So Jesus didn't just turn water into wine. Jesus said, if I'm going to turn water into wine, if it's going to be the best wine you don't ever taste in your life. And that is exactly how we need to start approaching God. Trust that he can do it better than anybody else can. Go to him first, and he'll work out all the kinks. Bye. Love y'all.